Welcome back to the Sports Syllabus Show. I'm your host, John Shakota, and I'm joined by
Luke Young.
And today we're going to do a little bit NBA talk. We haven't really talked about the NBA because there's not much going on, but finally something happened, and it's not a great thing. Then we'll talk about, MLB season. First weekend started. There's going to be some overreaction takes from me here. And then we'll wrap up with some March Madness talk as it starts to heat up and some history happened too. But we'll talk with the NBA first.
Yeah.
Luke, you're a basketball guy. Let the people know what happened.
Yeah, so some breaking news. What was that, 2 days ago?
Two
days ago? Yeah. The Grizzlies fired their longtime head coach, Taylor Jenkins. He was the fifth longest tenured head coach in the NBA, so he'd been there for a while.
Yeah.
Got hired from Milwaukee. He was Bud's number 2 guy for a long time there. And when he got hired, I was like, that's a great hire because he's young. He'd be able to coach Ja and all these guys. And they were really good for a few years there. They were the 2 seed. And then all the stuff with Ja happened. With the gun on the Instagram Live and all the things, he just wasn't really locked in on the court. And even this year, they're a 4 seed in a loaded Western Conference, having a pretty good year. And all of a sudden, all these stories come out. You hear that it was before it happened. Ja's concerned about his touches, about how he's not really. In previous years, the whole offense was him basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was frustrated about that, which is
fair.
Which is fair.
He's
a superstar.
making whatever millions of dollars, and he's the face of the franchise, so I get that. But I think I was surprised, like, with 8 games left now or something. Like, I don't know, I think it means that they've been wanting to fire him for a while, and now that they finally have a reason where it's like, okay, our star player is starting to get mad, we don't want him here anymore. That was kind of the reason, I think, because didn't they fire his whole assistant coaching staff this offseason?
Sure, yeah.
So like it felt like it was coming, but since they were starting to play kind of well, and honestly, Zach Edey, even though I didn't like him, he was at Purdue, and I'm a big Illinois fan. He wasn't bad. Like he's been a good pick. It's just they kind of have been disappointing as of late. I was just surprised by it. Honestly, it was that was more than anything for me. Yeah,
for this season they had the Grizzlies. I'm reading this ESPN article right now about how this year they are implementing a lot of European stuff into their offense, so it's a pretty experimental thing, and I don't know if the front office was completely behind that, but Jenkins was all for it, so all the guys that he hired were all about that. It was like a new style, basically.
It was. I was listening to another podcast. They said Finnish style, which it was interesting. I didn't really think. But, that was apparently kind of pass the ball because we saw Ja was really dominant because they had a great pick-and-roll game with him and Jaren Jackson. And we kind of have seen that disappear now, and now he's sort of just kind of stands and watches. Yeah. Since it's not as much, it's a lot of ball moving than just pick and pop, like they don't use the pick and roll as their main offensive focus. Yeah. Whereas now it's a lot more, okay, we're going to move the ball around and kind of like you're breaking down his own defense sort of thing.
It kind of seems more like Spurs and Warriors like than it is like 2018 Rockets. I feel like that's what the Grizzlies kind of were. Ja would get a pick from somebody. He would find some way to create off of that. If there was nothing there, Bane would get a pick. Exactly. Desmond Bane would get the ball. He would get a pick, and there'd probably be an open shooter by that point, and they would just hit threes, or Ja would just go to the rim, and Bane could create a bunch of shots. Yeah. So we just haven't seen that this year from them. It was a lot more team-oriented, a lot like kind of like a college system, honestly. Yeah. That we've seen, which is interesting. I still don't think that's warrant enough to fire your coach. Personally. I think he lost Morant. I really think Jenkins lost Morant, and I feel like Morant is infinitely more important to the front office than Jenkins is.
Especially because I think if Morant complains to the front office, they're in no position because Morant is the reason why they're making money. Morant puts butts in seats. So I think that's kind of why they kind of had to, even though I felt like you could have just waited. Like this season's going to be over for them. I think they're going to be out, I think, a first-round exit.
Yeah, I really don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs anyways.
Exactly. So you could have waited and then fired him. Because now everyone's like, what's going on with the Grizzlies? Like now it kind of shines a light on you guys. Yep. Whereas, okay, you could have kind of like what the Bucks did with Budenholzer, like just let him go after the run. Or wait.
No, they did. It was it was the coach before Doc. I forgot his name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. They start off insanely hot, right?
They were 30-13, and they fired him. That was the same exact thing.
Exactly.
He lost Giannis, even though Giannis picked him.
Exactly.
And Giannis complained to the front office, like, we got to do something here. And that's what happened. And I think that's kind of a similar situation what happened here. And, yeah, you're right. If it's an interesting case with John Moran. I think before all the gun stuff, he was set to be the face of American basketball.
Yes.
Because he was the most popular player to anybody under 13 in America because of the cool dunks, the flashy play, the shoes, the Nike, all that stuff.
Everything.
And now we've seen that kind of fade away because of all the controversy that he's been in. And then now Edwards is kind of that guy now.
Exactly.
And also the thing with Morant, he, in an age of after, if 10 years ago when we went through a huge load management period, when stars weren't playing.
Yeah.
He still kind of does that. It's kind of a 60-30. It's kind of like a 70-30 shot. You see John Morant play.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, it just feels like if they played 3 games in a week, he would play 2 out of the 3.
Exactly.
Which is, you want your star player to be there as much as he can. And I just feel like Morant isn't playing as much as he could be, I feel like.
Yeah, great point. Now we can talk about kind of the more stuff that's kind of in the limelight just because it's all starting up right now. Well, March Madness has kind of been going. But we got to talk about MLB. There's a bunch of storylines coming out with that. We'll talk torpedo bats because that's a big thing that we talked about a little bit actually in our class today.
We did.
Then we could talk about jerks and profile, the suspension. Mm-hmm. I'll kind of show you some more light about that.
No, I'd like to hear your stuff about it.
And then we'll talk about our teams. And I'm not going to lie, it is in – if you told me I was going to be talking and I was going to be happy and you were going to be sad, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll start first, torpedo bats. I'll let you go first because they did it to your team.
They did. They did do it to my team 3 games in a row.
And if you need the numbers, I got you.
Yeah, they did.
They had 36 runs, 34 hits, 15 homers, 16 walks, and hit .333. Also, Judge had 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 6 hits, and only struck out twice.
Yeah. So I was pretty excited about the baseball season to be starting. That first game, I was like, okay, this is pretty average. We had a shot to win it.
You came back.
Bases
in the end,
loaded.
Yeah.
Bases loaded, no outs in the top of the 9th, and we had a shot. And our boy Devin Williams struck us out 3 times in a row. So that was like I was like, okay, it's not a bad loss. The Yankees are loaded, exactly. So it's like whatever. All of a sudden, the next day, I'm checking my phone. I'm working. I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, man, they keep scoring 3 home runs in a row in the first inning. Are you kidding me? And I was like, all right, there's still a chance we can make some noise here, but no, every single time we're getting blown out. Yeah. Yesterday we get blown out by the Royals. There's something going on. The Brewers just
lost again, right?
Yeah.
Do they have a win or no? They're still
they're 0-4.
Jeez. So are the Twins. The Sox are playing the Twins 0-4, but
yeah, Sox are doing good, man.
Yeah, well. Good for the Sox. 500 is not terrible.
Yeah.
But
it's way better than 50 wins.
Exactly. We'll talk. I'll take about the torpedo.
Yeah, the torpedo bets.
So we were talking about it today, and so an MIT grad or someone
professor,
from
I think.
MIT was in contact. I don't know if he was hired, but he was working with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did is he kind of worked it to where he would watch film on the guys and see where they're hitting the ball. Let's say they hit it at the near the ender part of the barrel. Then he's gonna make the barrel push more that way. So they're building it. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's the Yankees. They're cheating." But a lot of people in the MLB are using it. They're just saying the Yankees because the Yankees put up 20 runs.
Yep.
And I feel like that's not fair because I've seen players on the Rays, the Twins, the Rangers, Astros. There are a bunch of people that are using it. It's just, and it's not a cheating bat. It's the barrel is still, it's all regulation because they wouldn't be able to use it
if it wasn't.
If it wasn't,
yep.
What they're doing is just they're using all the technology that we have now to help them. They're because
it's pretty cool.
I think it's cool because as a former baseball player, you may feel like, wow, I really hit the crap out of the ball, but you just jammed yourself.
Yeah.
And if you feel like that constantly, this will be like, oh, we'll move the barrel in more. You know what I mean? Yep. So I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And also I like it. I feel like it's getting the MLB a lot more press, which is something that we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of press, we'll talk about some bad press right now. Jurickson Profar.
Yeah.
So for you guys who don't know who Jurickson Profar is, he was drafted by the Rangers or signed, I think, internationally by the Rangers and was one of the top prospects in all of baseball, year in, year out. Then he kind of came up and he was like a lot of the Sox guys in the past few years. He was really disappointing, and then he went to the Padres, or no, he was with the Padres, went to the Rockies, came back to the Padres last year, and had like an all-star year, hit 280, was the leadoff hitter, like was just a great defender, great hitter, and then he signs a big contract with the Braves and plays, I think, 3, because I don't think he played last night. And then they found out he was a PED user, which is a cheater. So he's suspended 80 games, so he'll be back for the season, and the important stretch of the season, which is good for Braves fans. But it's also like, it's hard to root for someone who has cheated. But I mean, I don't. We've talked about this in our class that our professor thinks that a lot of the guys in the majors are doped. I don't think a lot, but I think some you can definitely tell. Some are definitely on some stuff. But no, I was just kind of surprised, and the fact that we're already getting we're 4 games into the season, we're already getting bad press for the MLB.
Not even 10 games in. But yeah, I think that the bats, going back to the torpedo bats, I honestly like them as an MLB super casual.
I do.
I think it's cool because like I know that diehard baseball fans will see a score 2-0 and be like, oh, that was a good game.
But that's not especially now with viewers.
Yeah.
Look at the NBA.
Yeah.
The NBA went from 90 to 130. They're casual people. The Bulls lost 147 to 110 yesterday.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what it is now. Same with NFL. Players are consistently throwing for 300. Scoring. It's an offensive sort of sports mindset now.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to attract new fans if you are looking at MLB scores oh my gosh, the Rangers just beat the whoever 16-12. That was a pretty cool game, and oh my gosh, this guy, they had 4 or 5 home runs, and imagine you're watching the game and you're just going crazy because your team keeps getting home runs. Now that'll wear off. The noon the coolness of it will wear off over time.
Yeah,
but I think it is. I think the reason the MLB keeps approving these bats is because it's good for people who are looking at the scores and oh, maybe I should watch these games now if they're going to hit all these home runs.
Definitely. I mean, I think the steroid era of baseball in the 90s was the biggest time for baseball, and there's a reason because of that. Home runs, people were hitting home runs, the home run chase, Barry Bonds, all that. There's a reason, because hitting a ball 400 feet is more impressive to the casual eye than hitting a 102-mile-per-hour fastball that's in your hands out of the ballpark barely. And to the casual fan, hitting a ball, hitting an absolute nuke is, obviously I'm not saying it's not impressive, but there's a difference. But if you're trying, we're saying, the NBA's viewer ratings are down. The MLB has constantly been going down. So I get what you're saying, where the MLB is doing a lot of stuff, and it has been over the past few years to try and get more viewership, and it's working.
It 100% is working.
And this is another great thing because we're in. People say there's no such thing as bad publicity. This is perfect. So what? They have the suspension is being overlooked by all the stuff going on.
I feel like the Profar story would have been bigger if the bats weren't such a big deal.
Exactly, which is crazy to think, because we had a whole scandal in baseball where almost every player was on PEDs, and now it's we're not even talking about this. We're talking about a freaking bat. I just think that's crazy, cool. And it's good. It's really good. I think that's good for baseball. But now we can talk. We talked a little bit about your team.
Yeah, let's hear some Sox stuff.
So,
I live with a few Sox fans, so I know they're pretty stoked.
It is. I'm excited, and I haven't been excited watching White Sox baseball in probably 2-3 years. I'm not saying we're going to be an amazing White Sox team. I don't think we will. I think we're going to be a middle of the pack. Oh my gosh! If we're not better than last year, let me read you this stat. The Sox are the first team, I think, I'm blanking on the year right now. Early 2000s, I think, since to have their guess what their Luke, what's their starting pitcher's ERA? What do you think it is?
I have no idea.
It's a 0. Their pitchers have not given up an earned run in 4 games.
There we go.
Okay, now they've scored on the pitchers, but they haven't been earned runs.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting because of those 4 guys, 3 of them are in the long-term plan. So that's a crazy, exciting stat for me.
Yeah.
And our issues are bullpen, which, whatever. If our pitchers can go 6-7 innings, which all of them have,
a
bullpen can get 3. Wait, nine or whatever outs. So I'm very excited. And our offense is starting to come alive. We just scored 9 runs. Mm-hmm. And the issue with us last year, and they were talking about it on the broadcast yesterday, is when we had these runners in the first 2 innings, we had runners on second and third in twice, and we ended up cashing in. We hit 2 home runs, but the moral of that is, like, last year we would not have hit home runs. We would have just left those 2 guys on.
Yeah.
So we're able to, this year. I mean, yes, take it with a grain of salt. It's 4 games, but this year we are able to hit home runs, get these runners in, and put up 9 runs on a hopeless Twins team that also, like the Brewers, doesn't have a win this year. Hopefully we can keep that. But I'm very excited. I haven't said this in almost a year and a half, 2 years, where, like, I'm actually, like, I've gone to Sox games, but, like, this year, like, at least right now, I'm actually excited to go. And that's what I feel like the moral is right now around the White Sox is just excitement, which I don't think it's like that for the Brewers.
Yeah, you guys hit rock bottom last year, and there's only one way to go from rock bottom. So
hopefully I don't want us to, like, if we're a playoff team, great. I don't think we will be, but great. I just want us to be a mediocre bad team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like where we're like
the Bulls.
Yes. To where, like, we're showing progress. Like, the key thing is the young people are showing progress. And right now, yes, they're showing progress. It's been 4 games. I know. But they're all showing progress. Mm-hmm. So that's a great thing for me. And another great thing for them is our pitching. That's what teams need, especially in playoff runs. So as a Sox fan, having pitching is a great thing right now. And it's young pitching, too. So that's just really exciting for me. But now let's talk about I would say the biggest thing going on in the sports world right now.
March Madness, man.
March Madness, Final Four preview. First time since 2008, all 4 number 1 seeds are in the Final Four. And I talked about this in my other podcast. I don't think it's because the field was that bad. I just think the 1 seeds were that good.
Yeah.
I mean, you have it up right now. Duke beat the number 1 scoring offense by 20 points, and they hold them to 65.
Yeah. I think Duke's the real deal, man. This is everyone talks about that 2018 Duke team, about how they were so good and they fell short.
This team is better.
Way better. I think Flagg is the most winning. Like, if you want to pick a player to win a game, you pick Cooper Flagg. Like, he's going to do all the right things at all the right time.
Would you pick him over Walter Clayton right now?
I think I would take him over Walter Clayton. Yep. What he does
to close a game. To close a game, not to win like a game, but like to, let's say it's a close game. You need someone to close. Who you picking?
I think I'll take Clayton. Flagg we saw that earlier in the year. He doesn't really have the experience to, like, at the end of a game where he can, like, just have everyone clear out. I'm going to get my own bucket here. Yeah. Clayton has that ability. We saw that against Texas.
Those threes were.
Yeah, the one where he was, like, running back out and
exactly like
I was like, are you kidding me, dude?
It's like, how can you, like, he's
Walter Clayton's also, this is his 5th year in college. Super Flagg's an 18-year-old. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah.
But I think Flagg is the best player in the country, and he's 18, and yeah, you're right. He's the leader of this Duke defense, and they just beat the best offense by 20.
Exactly.
And when's the last time Alabama scored 65 points?
Exactly. I was saying,
like, ever.
I think Nate Oates said that Alabama in his post-game press conference says this is the best Alabama 3-year run. I said I don't think Alabama has looked that bad in 3 years because they've been so good these past 3 years. And that's why we're talking about Duke. They play this game against Houston is going to be. I said it's going to be a national championship game that's played in the Final Four because of how good defensively both of these teams are. Houston held Tennessee to 15 points in the first. Like, that's great. I was talking to one of my buddies who goes to Tennessee, and he was like, "Don't text me." And the fact that even Tennessee was able to somehow come back a little, not even like they were. I mean, they were down by 10 at one point.
Yeah, they got
right?
it to 10 at some point. Yeah.
So they were in the game, but it's just Houston. A lot of people going into that game, myself included, I was interested to see how they would be able to deal with the pace of Tennessee, how Tennessee wants to go fast. Like SEC, fast, move the ball around, score fast. Houston was that game went how Houston went, how Houston wanted it to go. They said, we're going to control the game. We're not going to make you – we're going to go slow. And that's how – it was crazy.
Yeah, the SEC style is what Bama emulates, the fast three-point type style.
Yes.
Yeah, Tennessee plays that to a certain degree. A lot of it goes through Chaz Lanier, but both of these teams are kind of similar in the way that they struggle offensively at times, but their defense is so elite. And we just saw Houston was just good enough offensively, and their defense is so down.
Exactly.
You don't took Tennessee out of the game.
Exactly. They held, 50, right, is what they had?
Mm-hmm.
If you're holding a D1, like a Power 4 D1 team to 50 points in the biggest tournament of the year, that says something about your defense. That's the reason why they're the best. They allow the fewest points per game as a defense. And I think it's going to be a great matchup because of the matchup inside with Maluach. Just because Houston doesn't have a kind of, 7-foot whatever dude with an insane wingspan. And then you got to deal with Cooper Flagg on the wing with his length and size. And then also, people are not talking about your Milwaukee boy, Con Kneppel.
Yeah.
That dude is an automatic. That dude and Proctor's mixed, 3 threes this whole tournament?
Yeah.
If he gets a shot, it's going in.
Yeah.
So, I think, honestly, whoever wins this game, I think wins the national championship. And that's not saying that, Auburn's the number 1 seed for a reason, like the number 1 overall seed for a reason. Same with, Florida is great, too. These teams are so good defensively.
Yeah.
That I just think they're not going to be able to compete with them.
Yeah, when I was filling out my brackets, I was, going through it, and I was like, I kind of want to, pick all the 1 seeds here. These are the 4 best teams in the nation.
But you got in your head, and you're like, there's no way.
And I was like, that never happens. I can't do that.
Exactly.
So I have to, mix in some 2 and 3 seeds here. And, of course,
exactly.
I'm not saying I, called it. I'm just saying, when I was filling it out, I was like, I really don't think that anybody can beat these 4 teams.
Exactly.
Michigan State Auburn was, the one where I was
that was, iffy.
I could see it.
Yes.
It was also that in Tennessee. But I was like, there's no way Duke and Florida lose before the Final Four. There's just no way.
Yeah.
And it just turned out to be that way.
Exactly.
I don't think it's bad for the sport. I know everyone knows upsets, but there's going to be some high-level basketball games.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you have not watched college basketball this weekend, you should tune in because these are 2 – well, this will be 3 great games. And a lot of people say, oh, college basketball is not high-quality basketball. Watch this weekend and come back to us and let us know what you think because this is it's going to be NBA it's going to be NBA talent all over the court.
Yep.
Even these guys like Janiah Broome.
Yeah, Broome hurt his elbow.
That was crazy. He hurt his elbow and then came back
in the game,
and then hit a 3.
Yeah.
And
he's lucky he's lefty because that was his right arm.
Exactly. And Michigan State started to come back a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
The score kind of puts it closer than it was. Because when Broome was out, they kind of came closer.
Yeah.
But Auburn, Todd Pettiford is just. I mean,
him and Chad Baker-Nazara.
Yeah.
Both of them are pretty good.
The dude who's 29 or whatever.
Super old.
Doesn't he have another year too?
I think so. He might have another year.
That's crazy.
But yeah, we'll see how Broome is because at the end of the game he couldn't flex his arm.
Exactly.
That one play after the rebound when he saved the ball, his arm was just hanging. He couldn't flex it. So we'll see if he's 100%, and if he's not, I don't think Auburn stands a chance against Florida.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask this, but I don't know how I would answer it. I'm interested to see how you would. Who do you think wins the national championship?
Oh, Duke for sure. Duke hasn't shown a sign of weakness this whole tournament. You could who have they played? Whatever. They just played Bama, and they held Bama of all people to 65 points right after a game where they had 23s.
Exactly. 23, I think it was, or
23 threes.
Something. Yeah.
They have the best player in the country.
Yeah.
They have one of the best supporting casts in the country. As long as experience doesn't catch up to them, they will. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Duke, Florida.
That's what I think. I think I have that in one of my brackets.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I gotta go with Florida.
Florida's enticing.
Florida's very enticing. Well, one because Walter Clayton Jr. he went to Iona, and my dad and his whole family went there, so I have a little bit of a sweet spot. But also, we were talking about this. If it's a close game, I'm putting all my marbles into Walter Clayton Jr.
He's clutch, man.
I'm not saying Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is going to go number 1. He's going to be better than Walter Clayton, I think, in the draft because he's that generational of a talent. But in college, experience matters, and Walter Clayton basically was the reason Texas ended the game on a 22 or 21-6 run. Mm-hmm. So I can't pick against him, and I like how Auburn's the number 1 overall seed, and I feel like nobody's picking.
I think they're the worst number 1 seed too.
I think I think so too.
I think they're the most susceptible to be beaten here.
I think going into the tournament they were the best, but throughout the tournament they've just gotten worse. They've had a bunch of close games, and they haven't really beat. I mean, the first round against Alabama State and
they didn't look good at all.
That first half they didn't look good honestly throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
So it's very enticing. I think it's got to be either Duke or Florida. I think that's the national championship, but I could see I'm saying if Houston wins, I could see them winning too.
Honestly, yeah. I was thinking about it last night. Either one of 4 of these teams, we're gonna watch and they're gonna win. And be like, oh, it was obvious the whole year.
Exactly.
This team was the best team. What were we thinking picking somebody else?
Exactly.
And it could happen to all 4 of these teams.
Exactly. So that's why it's so interesting. Is you can make a case for all 4 of these teams to win the championship, but that's what makes college basketball so great and so intriguing to watch. Is there's only one champion. There's only out of however 300 and something programs, there's going to be one team that comes out happy.
Yep.
So it makes it really exciting. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited for this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun.
So
Final Four is always the best.
Final Four is because, one, it's the biggest crowd. The atmosphere is crazy. They're in a football stadium, so you it feels louder, and when they do the pans of the crowd, it just
and
feels.
They zoom out after a big bucket. It's like a whole and it's always interesting to see how the different type of stadium affects the shooting.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that gets to any of these
Exactly,
guys.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see the court. I don't know about you, but I always look forward to the courts.
Yeah.
Because they always have the whatever city they're in, in Houston.
Steamed,
Yeah. In Houston they had the space stuff. Yeah. In New Orleans they had the Mardi Gras theme.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that too. But do you have anything more else you want to add?
Yeah, I think go Blue Devils.
Go Blue Devils.
Yeah.
Go Gators. That's my final pick. I was kind of iffy on it, but I'm going to roll with the Gators. But thank you guys for watching this episode of the Sports Syllabus Show. Make sure to follow us on Instagram so you can get hot takes and sports updates in real time. We'll also be posting clips from this episode on there. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thank you, guys.